I haven't recorded a video in here in like a week or so. I'm in the cemetery, the graveyard, whatever. I just got off the phone with my person. It feels really weird saying that, but I'm gonna keep saying it, I guess. I don't know. And I don't know. I'm not necessarily blaming anybody. I don't want to misdirect his energy, but it could just be because I had coffee this morning. Like, my heart and my chest have been pounding. Yes. And I don't know, like, I feel like there's a lot I could talk about. Give me a second. Give me a fucking second. So as I'm recording, it is November 7th. It is the beginning of November. First week of November is over. And by the time you see this, it'll be January most likely. And right now, for me, I feel like it's been a very transitional sort of energy, I think. And one practice I've been using that I find has been very helpful is this method. I call it the tap method. There's another one that's like 5 letters, and maybe I'll talk about that at some point. But tap stands for, because you know how people say like tap in, you know what I mean, tune in. It stands for tune into your body, drop into your body, be aware of what's going on with your body, how you're feeling, what feelings are passing through. Tap, T-A-P-A, acknowledge. Name it. Name whatever feeling is flowing through you without judgment. Acknowledge it. Put a name to it. You know what I mean? And then finally, P for purify. And maybe it's an oversimplified acronym, because purify could mean a lot of different things. It could mean ground. It could mean to release. It could mean, you know what I mean? It mean a lot of different things. But generally, you know, after you've named the feeling, if you don't want it within your body, then you like do something with it. You integrate it. You write something about it. You pray about it. You visualize, whatever. You know, and I feel like this has been really helpful for me. I'm really fast. I'm a Gemini sun. I move very fast, I think, faster than most people. And so when I say I started this yesterday and it's been really helpful for me, I mean that. Like, I started using it. I was working with ChatGPT. I was writing something and I was using ChatGPT and they came up with that acronym. And I used it immediately because there was a feeling coming up in my body, like a discomfort. And so I used that and immediately I was able to clock it. And you know what I mean? And so that's been really helpful for me personally. And maybe that's something for you to utilize. It's a really quick process to try to like identify foreign feelings, foreign sensations, and then to like, you know, make it productive or you be useful with it. You know what I mean? And I don't know, sometimes, especially when you consume certain substances, because I had coffee this morning once again, my fucking heart. When you consume certain substances, sometimes you just kind of got to flow through it. You can't necessarily change it or move it in a different direction. Sometimes you just got to feel it. Maybe hydrate to help. You know what I mean? Because I don't know, I've talked about it before. I've been grossly transparent, I feel like, with the last few videos. I'd say few videos, last few months, I don't know. Like, I've struggled with substance abuse. And it's taken me some time. I'm still going through that journey. I'm still moving through it and all that jazz. But I feel like the tap method has definitely been helpful for me to identify when a trigger comes up, when a craving comes in, you know? Because I've always been super hyper aware, super hyper self-aware, you know? So it's nothing for me to just like notice that there's a shift, notice there's a difference, you know what I mean? But sometimes, and I was saying this on live stream this morning, sometimes it can be really difficult to recognize an uncomfortable feeling and then also flow through it. In this world that we live in, for a lot of us, it's very common to kind of numb it out some way, even if it's not with drugs, you know, with sex, with online shopping, whatever your vice is, whatever your thing is, whatever your comfort is, you know. And sometimes those comforts aren't necessarily the most healthy, and that's when it becomes an issue. I think You know what I mean? Because if your go-to is going to the gym or eating a nice salad, like, obviously that's not, obviously that's okay. But, like, if your go-to is, like, smoking some crack or, like, no judgment, no judgment, but, like, you know what I mean? Like, there are obvious toxins that we probably shouldn't be putting into our body, probably shouldn't be engaging with, but we do anyway. And a big thing is awareness and being aware that for a lot of us, the reason why we are feeling these discomforting feelings is because there's something missing, there's something lacking in our lives. And somebody put it so plainly in a TikTok video that I saw yesterday, where it's like, and they weren't talking about addiction, that's not what the point of the video was about, but they were talking about how, like, I agreed with a lot of their points, I disagreed with some of their points, that's not really that's not really relevant. But they were basically saying that, like, when you don't receive love from your family, when you are not accepted by your family, it will cause for issues. It will cause for a lot of pain, a lot of discomfort, And, and then as I was saying that, I'm, like, tuned into that. I feel it very, because that's what it is. When you really boil it down, it's a lack of love. It's a lack of safety, security, comfort, warmth, all that jazz. Why people become addicts, why people spiral out of control, why people, you know what I mean? It's because there's a lack of something that is really foundational, to humanity, to being a functioning human, you know what I mean? You gotta, we could argue all day, we could go back and forth about it, and, what are the bare necessities, and we could talk about that, but, like, I do believe that one of the bare necessities, one of the bottom lines that we need as humans, as spiritual creatures, is love, is community, and when you don't have that, it causes a lot of other issues that you have to deal with, and most people don't have the awareness to even intellectualize it or verbalize it in that way, so I think I'm one of the lucky ones, I'm sorry, I'm really going through it. I'm probably going to smoke at some point today, like, that's not necessarily, but, like, I don't know, the last week, I think I've been doing really well with, like, putting it off, holding off on it, however you say that, procrastinating on it, not spending so much time trying to numb it, and trying to spend a little bit more time just feeling it, just flowing through it, you know what I mean? But once again, like I said on live stream this morning, it is very uncomfortable sometimes. And I totally understand why people become addicts because of that, because it's very uncomfortable to, like, sit with that feeling, especially when you don't know why it's happening, you don't know where it's coming from. It's like, let me do something to stop this, There was a viewer, love her, she's awesome. Shout out to Kim if you're ever watching this, but she was talking about going through coffee withdrawals, and that's also partially what made me think in this direction, because, she brought that to my attention. And once again, by the time this gets posted, it'll be January, so maybe nobody needs to hear this. Maybe everybody needs to hear this. I don't know. I feel like somebody needs to hear this in general. I feel like this is an important message. I mean, most of my videos are supposed to be timeless. There's not really a timestamp on when it's useful. As long as you're breathing, as long as you're here on this planet, like, they should be helpful to you whenever you see them. Oh my goodness. Let me stop walking. Because I feel like the energy that it takes for me to walk, it takes a little bit away from the energy required to not feel so out of balance, if that makes sense. I'll be okay. I'll be all right. This is one moment in time, bitch. And I don't know, another facet of it, if I had to point fingers, because this isn't just happenstance. This isn't just, how life goes. Because a lot of people have that perspective, have that philosophy. Sometimes you just got to deal with pain. And this is true, yes. But what happens when that pain is something that was deliberate? What happens when that pain is something that was forced upon you? Whether intentionally or not. Intentions don't matter sometimes. Sometimes they do, sometimes they fucking don't. But, like, you know what I mean? What happens when that pain that you're experiencing was something that was deliberate. I think it's a different type of pain, because then that comes with emotional pain, that comes with grief, that comes with betrayal, that comes with, you know what I mean? All those feelings of like, why would you do that? How could you do that? How could you like hurt me like that? How could you know what I mean? And somebody here might be feeling that might be relevant for somebody at the time of watching. Like maybe you're finding out certain things about certain people that are close to you, and it's really frustrating. And once again, I've said this before, we can point the finger all day at the other people, but at the end of the day, at the end of the night, you have to come back to self, and you have to be able to manage yourself. And I was going to say control, but regulate, I feel like, would be the more accurate word. You have to be able to regulate yourself. And it's quite unfortunate. There's a lot of adults in this world who don't know how to regulate themselves. And instead of trying to learn, they kind of just take the easier route and they just push it on to somebody else, whether subconsciously, because everybody likes to get all up in arms about like intention and stuff. Sometimes it doesn't matter. The subconscious is a very powerful thing. Sometimes we do things without realizing that we're doing them. And sometimes that is even more dangerous, because your intention, your conscious intention might be to help somebody, but that doesn't matter as much if the result is you forcing your pain onto them. You know what I mean? Like, so that's something for somebody, I don't know. I guess if I could take a moment to just express gratitude, I don't know, for the angels, for the spirits, for the gods, you know what I mean? Because I think it would be kind of selfish to not recognize that part of my awareness is because of those forces, you know what I mean? It's not just all me. Because a few days ago, I definitely did ask for assistance with this healing and whatnot. And I specifically said, I don't know if it's necessary, but I specifically said, because I do believe that sometimes you have to be very specific with your words. It's like a genie sometimes. It's like, if you're not specific, you might end up feeling fucked. You know what I mean? But I was very specific. I was like, with no harm to me, no harm to anybody who doesn't deserve it. Emphasis on that, because if you deserve it, fuck you. I don't really care. Hopefully you learn your lesson. Hopefully you bounce back. But if not, whatever, that's your fault. And that's also something that's coming through. I'm going to speak on that for a second. But, yeah, thank you. Gratitude, much love. But, that's another thing. Like I said, most adults do not know how to regulate themselves. They do not know how to healthily communicate without necessarily guilting people or forcing people. You know what I mean? And that's a very common thing, unfortunately. And we have to be extra careful as sensitive people, as people who are more in tune with the spiritual, who are more in tune with our emotions and things that we cannot necessarily physically see. We have to be very careful when dealing with certain people, because, like I said, a lot of people will push their own energies onto others because they can't handle it, and it's a very unfortunate truth, but you just, like, at the bottom line, you have to be strong enough to handle whatever is coming your way. It's unfortunate. I wish that wasn't the world that we live in, but that is the world that we live in. Sometimes you will deal with people, and sometimes you will deal with people who are supposed to help you, who are meant to help you, but they cannot, because they have not done the work themselves. And specifically, I guess I'm kind of referencing inadvertently the 2 counselors I just had. I went through 2 different counselors in the last week, I guess. I don't know. I had one counselor. I thought she was cool until I didn't. Until I noticed very clearly that she just... And it's no judgment to her. If she would ever be watching this, much love to you, much love to your kids, whatever the fuck. But, like, it was very obvious to me she had not done the necessary emotional work to be able to handle me, and part of me believes that she was being malicious. Maybe she wasn't. Maybe this was just my perception, but it felt like malicious energy, because I'm communicating very directly with you, very clearly, in what I believe is a respectful manner, and you don't even have the courtesy to, like, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know. I'm sorry. I don't mean to get too personal, but, like, you know what I mean? It was just very obvious to me that she had a lot of things that she needs to work through. that she probably won't, because, you know, if it hasn't happened yet and she's not trying, I don't know, maybe it'll be another 10 years. Maybe it'll have to be through her children or something. I don't know. It's none of my business. And then the second guy, allegedly, he read my file. And he used to work in the prison system. And so he was thinking, oh, this guy is tough. I'm going to get him. I'm going to fix him. Fuck you, bitch. Fuck your ego. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I told him not to his face. I didn't say fuck your ego, but I was basically like, it seems like you're a very ego-based person. I didn't say it exactly like that. Shut up. Because I could already feel somebody being like, why do you talk to people like that? That's what this bitch said. We were having a healthy dialogue. We were having a healthy back and forth, I believe. It wasn't that healthy, because he was not actually receptive to what I was saying. And I think that's a big problem. You should be listening to your client. You should be listening to the person that you're trying to help. Like, you can't help somebody if you're not even willing to listen to their perspective, if you're not even willing to meet them where they are, you know? And if you're not capable of doing that, or if you're not willing to do that, then that's another thing. But, like, you know, because I kept stressing that. Like, I made several videos about this. Like, I kept stressing. I dropped a lot of gems with this guy. One thing I said was that every relationship, every challenge, every situation that we face is an opportunity to learn, to grow, and to evolve, if you choose to look at it that way. You know, regardless of what your position is, regardless of whether you're the father, you're the teacher, you're the therapist, like, there's an opportunity for both parties to learn. He didn't really vibe with that. That was one thing that just told me that this was not going to work, because if you're not open to learning, you can't help me. You can't help me. Because if you think you know everything, you know what I mean? Like, it is hard for me to say, well, then go do, because it's like I'm supposed to be the one receiving help, but it's like, it can be very frustrating to be the most mature person in the room, especially when you're the youngest. You know what I mean? Because this person was slightly older than me. He was like 30-something. I'm 28 at the time of recording. And it is really frustrating. I feel like that's something I've witnessed all my life. Like, just people not having the maturity level that I have. And it's no judgment, it's no comparison. We shouldn't be comparing. Everybody's on their own journey, right? But it becomes detrimental when I'm doing everything right and you're refusing to acknowledge truth because it hurts, because it's uncomfortable, because it doesn't align with your personal beliefs. You know what I mean? And another big thing that made it so I knew that this was not going to work was that he said something along the lines of, you're on the wrong path. You're headed down a path to prison. And the reason why this was so ridiculous is because he said this after I told him that okay, I'm sorry. I'm getting hyped up. But he wanted to meet in the library. And I was like, yeah, I don't really think that's a great idea, because I think this is going to be a very, not intimate, I use the word sensitive, you know, because I'm a sensitive case. Like, I don't think it would be a good idea for me to, like, for us to talk about certain things just in a public setting, you know. So we hung out in his car, and one thing after another, I made it very apparent, like, who I am, how I operate, how I show up, what I believe about myself, and all that jazz. And one of the things I told him, essentially, without saying verbatim, because I don't remember what I said verbatim, but I basically expressed to him that I'm a very spiritually aligned person. I like pray a lot, I meditate, you know, I give people guidance when I can. I tune into angelic frequencies and stuff like that. I said all of that. He had that in his brain, and he fixed his stupid dumb lips, his beautiful dumb lips. He had really nice lips, but he fixed his stupid lips to say that you're on the wrong path. The way that you talk to people, you're headed either to prison, or he told me some stupid story about somebody that he mentored who ended up getting raped and murdered. He was like, either one of those two things. And I rebuked that so fast. And he continued to try to, like, push that narrative on me. And I don't like talking like this. I don't like making videos from this perspective. But the more and more that I grow in my awareness, it's really hard for me to not believe this, that there are people who, like, actively work for, like, evil forces. You know what I mean? And, like, when he said that, I was like, you can't be serious. You cannot be listening to what I'm saying, and that is the story that you're choosing to go with. What? Like, can't be anything other than that. Do you know what I mean? And honestly, same with the last council. I really do feel like these people were working for like evil forces or whatever. And you know what I mean? No judgment. Everybody does what they do. We live in a fucking crazy world. Sometimes you feel like you gotta do whatever the fuck you gotta do. But like, I think the craziest part is that when I called them out on their toxic behaviors, on like what they were saying or doing that was obviously not right, not upright, not moral, not ethical, they would get really offensive or defensive and deflect, understandably. But it's like, no, this doesn't work. You know, this doesn't work. Like, you don't want nobody to tell you anything about yourself. You think you got your fancy degrees and everything. You think you know every fucking thing. Like, the fuck? He said, I have 2 master's degrees. Okay. Good for you, sir. There are so many people who go to school and learn absolutely nothing. Do you know that? Like, I don't know who's watching this in the future, but there are people who go to school for like 10 plus years and literally learn nothing. They absorb information, they remember information, but they didn't learn a goddamn thing. They didn't learn a thing about themselves. They didn't learn a thing about the world, or even the subject that they're supposed to be learning about. You know what I mean? Like, and it's really crazy how that is possible. Me personally, I love learning. I love knowing information. So I don't personally understand how that works, but it does work like that. Like, there are so many people who will go to school and they will literally not learn a goddamn thing. Like, how do you study the brain? How do you study psychology? And then come out not thinking that you should use empathy. I don't know. And I don't know. It doesn't make sense. And also, another reason, I don't want to just call these people evil out of nowhere. I want to give more context. I don't need to give more context, but I'm going to give more context. Another thing about it is that, like, I got very heated. Because there are certain things in life that I'm very passionate about. One of those things is God. One of those things is spirituality. And so we were talking, and I was basically trying to gauge where she was at mentally, spiritually, and all that. And so I asked, about God. I asked her perspective on God and all that stuff. And once again, I get very passionate because I have a very strong awareness. I know a lot of things. I witness a lot of things. I feel a lot of things. And, it got into a really heated thing where she felt like I was personally attacking her. Because I was talking about the evils of the world and how a lot of people pretend to know God and all this stuff. And she got offended and she was like, well, how do you know that people are pretending? Bitch, because I have intuition. Because I tune in, because I meditate. What? You sound dumb as fuck. How do you know? Because I know, bitch. The fuck? And I'm sorry. Maybe I shouldn't be calling her out her name or whatever. And I thought it was really stupid when the new counselor, who was a male, I guess he heard about like how I was talking to her or whatever, because I get crazy. I do. When I feel like somebody is purposely fucking with my mental health, when I feel like somebody, even if it's not purposely, I don't even care if it's personal. I mean, it does matter depending, like, if it's purposeful or not. But when I feel like somebody is tampering with my mental health, with my emotional health, with my spiritual health, you don't get to control how I react to that when I feel like I'm being hurt, when I feel like I'm being attacked. Like, I can try to control myself, but you don't get to control that. You don't get to hurt me and then tell me not to scream out in pain. What the fuck? You dumbass bitch. But yeah, I guess he like heard how I was like talking to her, and he made it a huge point to say, moving forward, no disrespecting women. This nigga, I'm sorry. I don't usually swear this much. I only swear this much when I get angry, I think. But this bitch kept emphasizing that point, no disrespecting women, after I was already agreeing with him. Like, he just wanted me to pipe down and just take whatever he was saying. Like, I think that's what it was. Same thing with the prison narrative. He just wanted me to take what he was saying, because he was trying to push the narrative that, like, I'm not open to hearing what he said. Bitch, I'm agreeing with most of what you're saying, but the moment I disagree, it's like, oh, you're not listening. You don't listen. Fuck you and your ego. But he kept saying that. We talked on the phone before we met in person, and he kept saying that. He was like, just moving forward, I hope we understand, like, no disrespecting females. Also, the fact that he kept saying females. He didn't say women, he said females. That alone was a red flag. But he kept saying that, and I was like, I agree with you. I definitely believe that society mistreats women, so I get where you're coming from. And then because I wanted to express my point of view, I'm like, I understand what you're saying, and there's no problem with that. I have no problem with respecting women, but I just want to make it clear that if you're working for me, if you're supposed to be my counselor, you need to understand that, like, you need to take care, like, I respect women so much. I definitely, I believe a lot of men are fucking evil. Like, I'm a male, but obviously I feel like I have a female spirit. I don't know. And so me saying that now, I imagine you could probably imagine how much I was emphasizing. You know, I agree with you. Women are meant to be, like, they literally bring life to us. Like, we wouldn't exist without them. I understand respect. But for the sake of you doing your job with me, I don't care about all that. Like when it comes to, like, at this point in my life, and, like, I don't know, I say this and I'm probably not actually super 100% on this idea, because I am very flexible. I'm able to contort, and you know what I mean? I'm able to be flexible. But at this point in my life, I feel like it's really necessary for me to be, like, a little bit more selfish, a little bit more self-oriented, you know? And I don't like being mean to people. I don't like feeling like I'm being mean to people at all. So whenever I have to, like, put my foot down or, like, be firm with somebody, it hurts a little bit, you know? But, like, the bottom line is that, like, you're my counselor. You're supposed to be helping me with my mental health. And that's the bottom line, man. Like, you're getting paid to do a job. So all that other nonsense is just really bias and your personal feelings. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know what kind of relationship those two have with each other. That's none of my fucking business. But, like, and that's my problem with, like, the mental health field. Like, there's too many people in that field and the regular health field who don't give a fuck about the people that they're supposed to be helping. And I just don't think that's right. You know? Like, I don't think you should even be allowed to be in those fields if you cannot carry empathy. You know? Like, no. You know? And what I feel like I was subconsciously offering to both of these people is to open their heart, expand their heart, and do their job with a little bit more genuine compassion. Because I will tell you, the second guy, he played empathy really well. The first thing that he said to me when I expressed how I was feeling about the situation was, I'm sorry that you feel that way. I'm sorry that that's happening. I'll do my best to help you. And then he went straight into, like, but moving forward, we don't disrespect women. I'm like, fuck you. Fuck you. Fuck you. Like, it really irritates my soul. Like, I just wish people could be more honest with themselves. Like, if you're not an empathetic person, that's fine. I've met some people who are very apathetic and openly apathetic, and some of those people were some of my favorite people. But what I don't like is somebody who pretends to be empathetic, but is not. You know what I mean? That's one thing that irritates. Like, if you want to help people, and somehow you're still apathetic, that's cool. You don't have to pretend like you care. Just do the job. Just do what you feel called to do, and just do that. You don't have to pretend. You don't have to put on a smile and be like, love you, oh my God. You don't have to fucking do that. Just be who you are. You know, but obviously the people who need that message aren't listening. They don't give a fuck about that. There's a part of me that just wants to keep talking about it and going on about it, which is really weird. And once again, I don't know. I really have a gripe with humanity. Like, a few days ago, once again, by the time you see this, it'll be January. But a few days ago, I had a really big internal emotional moment where I was, like, walking. I don't remember. I think I was walking back to the shelter. I don't know. And I was basically talking with myself, and I was just like, you know, I'm done with people. I think people are just a waste of energy. Like, obviously not. But, you know, in the grand scheme of it, like, in relation to, like, my life purpose, like, I feel like certain people are just a waste of space. You know what I mean? Like, I have faith in God, I have faith in spirituality, I have faith in, like, the angels and all that jazz, but people are a lost fucking cause. That's what I was saying to myself. That's what I was thinking to myself. And I was like, I'm done having hope for people changing and evolving and growing, because I don't believe that, you know? And I was saying to myself, I was like, I'll still do my best to show up, to be polite, to, you know, do what I do, but I just don't have faith in the idea that I will meet other people in person, at least, who genuinely have the same faith that I do, the same conviction that I do, the same empathy that I do. You know what I mean? And that's okay. That's okay. I don't mind being on my own. Quite frankly, because of what I've experienced, I prefer to be alone all the time. I'm sorry, this video is going a little bit longer than I was anticipating, so I'm gonna end this soon. I don't know. What else can I say? I don't know. We live in a crazy world. Thank the gods, thank the spirits, thank the angels, you know. It's crazy. It's fucking madness sometimes. But I don't know. I think one of the beautiful things is that, like, we do have the ability to learn and to level up and to grow. And sometimes it's painful, sometimes it's so uncomfortable. Sometimes it requires us to be super humble. But it is always available, the option to advance. It might not always be the way that you want to, but, you know. And I think it's sad that there's a lot of people in the world who don't see it that way. You know, they grow a bitterness for God, for, like, higher love. You know what I mean? Because it's like, I can't even, like, conceptualize what a person might say, but, like, you know, it's just like, I can understand to some degree, but I'm gonna end this here. I'm gonna just say thank you for watching, thank you for being here. I really do hope you know that God loves you so fucking much. Like, even if it doesn't necessarily feel like it, even if the world is against you, like, there is a higher power, and I do believe that higher power wants the best for you, wants you to grow into your own higher power. You know what I mean? I also hope you know miracles happen all the fucking time, especially when you learn to believe in them, especially when you learn to align with them. Okay, period. And whatever you're going through, man, super temporary. You know why? You know how I know that? Because we all fucking die. You see all these people? You see all these tombstones? That'll be you one day. That'll be, well, unless you don't want to get buried. I don't really want to get buried. It's really expensive and a waste of energy. But yeah, thank you for watching. Have a nice one. Stay groovy, stay prayed up.